Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Bill Collins. I'm an ISSA elite trainer, nutritionist, and strength and conditioning coach. In this ongoing series, I'll share my blueprint for success over decades in resistance exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle. My anaerobic resistance training objectives are to optimally increase muscle power, strength, and hypertrophy, while minimizing injury risk. Here are 3 short clips of me performing the bench press. These are the concentric segments of a single repetition that I isolated from multiple repetitions of a set. I overlaid a timer that will record the duration in seconds. I'll start with 225 pounds. Let's watch. Now I'll increase the weight to 275 pounds. Now 305 pounds. Clearly, as the load increases, the concentric rep velocity decreases. The time to complete each rep clearly indicates this. Regardless of the weight, what these concentric repetitions have in common is that I completed them as fast and explosively as possible to generate maximum power for the weight being used. This is an excellent journal paper with metrics that compare bench press concentric reps at half velocity to the dramatically superior results of applying maximal intended velocity. I'll perform a concentric bench press rep with the bar loaded to 325 to demonstrate how rep speed close to 1 rep max is a reliable indicator that you're approaching your neuromuscular maximum, and intention of maximal intended velocity loses effect. I know from experience this is about 2 seconds for me that I can anticipate immediately when I unrack the weight and feel the load statically and during the eccentric phase of the rep. My method for selecting the rep max percentage starts with the chosen exercise. For compound exercises like my bench press example, or squats, most back exercises, and other compound exercises that engage large muscle groups, if you are experienced with the exercise and have the proficiency that includes 1 rep max as part of your training, that is your obvious starting point. If your typical workouts have rep ranges above 5, you must create neuromuscular control with heavier, lower rep training over the course of a number of workouts till you can perform 5 proficient reps to just short of failure on the last rep. With practice, you will know when you reach this last rep by the decrease in concentric rep speed as you progress through the set. I have the bar loaded to 275, about 80% of my 1 rep max. The top timer is total elapsed seconds, and the bottom timer is each concentric rep duration. I'm demonstrating the rep timing difference between keeping 1 rep in reserve and the last rep to near failure. The timers help to visualize how rep speed drops as I approach failure. It takes experience to feel where rep failure will occur in the set. Lower reps at a higher percentage of 1 rep max helps. My 5th rep was more than 1 second slower than rep 1. And rep 6 also more than 1 second slower than rep 5. Neuromuscular drive made it possible for me to just complete the 6th rep. I'm ready to train with 285 at this point, till I once again reach 6 reps and continue with the progressive resistance strategy. When you have successfully reached 5 or fewer solid reps for a given exercise, the easiest way to determine your 1 rep max is to use an online calculator and input the number of reps and weight and see the calculated 1 rep max. I advised you to use 5 reps or fewer for a reason, even though these calculators typically let you input up to 10 reps. There is consensus among researchers that fewer reps, 5 in this case, is more accurate than 10 and 20 to determine 1 rep max from an equation. If you want to calculate this for yourself, you can use the equation shown here or refer back to this page when needed for 2 to 10 reps, with the corresponding percent of 1 rep max that I used the equation to calculate. For many single joint exercises, strict standing barbell curls is a good example. It takes discipline to complete a 1 rep max without cheating. Use the same neuromuscular, repetitive process as compound exercises and see if you can command 5 reps. If not, you can use up to 10. It's worth the effort to go through this process, as you will be working in this rep range regularly if you adopt this training methodology. Exceptions would be if you're limited by pain or injury that keep you from lower reps using heavier weight. A gain-killing error is ego-driven attempts with weight that is too heavy to use proper form for the exercise. For exercises like heavy bench press that have the potential to kill you, use a trusted spotter or work inside a power rack like I do, with safety pins that will save you from a missed attempt. You will be stronger if you have confidence that you can't be pinned under the weight. Always be on guard for any signs of joint or tendon pain. This is particularly true as you progress with heavier weight. Delayed onset muscle soreness is reality for resistance training and isn't a problem unless you are still sore at your next workout. If so, you are overtraining, and this is an invitation to injury. Sharp or dull persistent pain is a warning sign that you can't ignore and must stop and evaluate. Here are some of my thoughts regarding signs and symptoms of overtraining. Being strong is a double-edged sword in the sense that for many, me included, your muscle strength is higher than your joints and tendons are capable of sustaining when consistently using heavy weights over time for many exercises. Yes, tendon adaptation occurs along with muscle strength and hypertrophy. Nevertheless, the effect of weight plus reps plus time means you must pay attention to what your body is telling you, and you must use periodization. The eccentric portion of the repetition is arguably the most important and controversial. As the muscle lengthens under tension, some level of muscle damage may occur depending on many variables. This results in delayed onset muscle soreness in varying degrees, from none to severe, or in the extreme, a muscle or tendon tear. Watch these 4 examples of me demonstrating the isolated eccentric portion of a bench press repetition at 4 different bar velocities. This would apply equally well to other compound movements. I'm starting with the slowest eccentric speed and will progress to the fastest. Very slow eccentrics at 5+ seconds are safest, although not optimum for power training. So which bar velocity will give you the best results in a power training workout and minimize the injury risk? To answer this question, understanding the relationship between time under tension and the effect that reducing eccentric speed has on the immediately following concentric portion of the rep. If we consider a power training set and choose the slow bar speed at 5.5 seconds, compared to the 2-second eccentric, and we are working with a high percentage of 1 rep max load, above 70%, we will complete fewer reps to just short of failure with the slower eccentric bar speed. Too slow a bar speed also excessively decreases the concentric explosive bar velocity, hence the power during the concentric portion of the rep. Remember that the focus is on generating power for the set. An eccentric speed between 2 and 3 seconds is a good trade-off between power and time under tension. If you are older and/or inexperienced, opt for the slower eccentric contraction, even slower than 3 seconds. When the bar speed decelerates to 0 at the completion of the eccentric portion and the accelerating force is immediately applied concentrically, your muscles and tendons are at greatest risk of injury. The second example would be my method of choice, as I would make an argument that more power generated with additional reps and equal, even less time under tension, has given me superior results, and after thousands of reps over decades, my tendons, muscle structure, and neuromuscular control have adapted to the shorter eccentric phase. I've included a hypothetical example that aligns with my experience comparing a 5-second to 2-second eccentric duration with identical time under tension, resulting in higher power generated for the set with the 2-second eccentric due to more total reps completed. If you want to explore the relationship between eccentric velocity and power in greater detail, these 2 research papers are a good place to start. If you want to decrease the eccentric speed to 2 seconds or faster, it's imperative that you train for this incrementally and slowly over many workouts. Between 1 and 2 seconds, the stretch shortening cycle, SSC, plays a greater role that has commonality with plyometric training. This page will give you a basic understanding of the stretch shortening cycle. Incorporating the stretch shortening cycle into your training should not be undertaken lightly. Entering the realm of fast eccentrics carries injury risk even with a disciplined approach. It requires a high level of neuromuscular control to decelerate the bar eccentrically and stop precisely when the force required to decelerate the weight increases well above the static load due to the period of time to bring the weight to a stop. Don't attempt to train this way without extensive experience and the patience to allow the necessary neuromuscular, muscle fiber, and tendon adaptation to take place in small increments over time. Pause on this page for a general understanding of periodization variables as they apply to power training. Periodization is necessary for many reasons, and I have practiced it for decades, before it was called periodization. There is an ego and hardcore gym-driven culture to train heavy every workout. I did this in the past before I periodized my training, and the price I paid was a shoulder injury that sidelined me for a year, twice. Strategic down training is a must if you seek optimal long-term results while minimizing injury risk. At 60 to 70% of 1 rep max, you can feel rep failure approaching more distinctly by the decrease in concentric speed and end the set with 2 reps in reserve, typically in the 10 to 15 rep range. Not training to failure for both heavy and lighter training days keeps me in the gain zone without overtraining. I strongly advise you to follow a similar periodization protocol for large muscle groups using compound exercises. For single joint exercises, curls are a good example. I periodize in similar fashion. I prioritize hypertrophy over strength for biceps, so my rep max percentage is lower, 70% of 1 rep max on heavy days and 50% on down days. Triceps are a priority for me, as they have always responded well from both a hypertrophy and strength perspective. I train heavy days at 80% of 1 rep max and down days at 60%. And as with every exercise, maintaining proper biomechanics is key. Interset recovery period variation is another important periodization variable. On heavy bench press days, after 5 progressive warm-up sets, if I am attempting a 1 rep max, I rest 5 minutes between sets. On heavy days without a 1 rep max attempt, my rest is 3 minutes, and on the down cycle day, rest is 2 minutes. My point with this is not to apply the same recovery cycle to every exercise. If you are prioritizing hypertrophy, shorter recovery periods, as little as 30 seconds, can be effective if you include longer recovery periods as well, in combination with 1 rep maximum loads that allow you to complete 10 or more reps. I will caution you against combining high 1 rep max percentage and low rep sets with too short a rest cycle between, as this is a recipe for overtraining and even injury. If you were prioritizing power and strength before hypertrophy, as I do for most exercises, your interset recovery period should be a minimum of 2 minutes. I want to give you a general sense of what my resistance training cycles look like. I chose to focus on my application of the principles covered in this presentation and not details like specific exercises. I will include those in an upcoming episode if enough of you watching express interest in the comments. I still lift heavy after 5 decades. It's powerful medicine. You can too if you're smart about following sound advice and don't lead with your ego. Thanks for watching. I hope you found my presentation interesting and informative. If so, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment below if you like. I will have more episodes to follow. Be well.